Hello and welcome to Technical Difficulties with Voidcat. I am your host, Allison, and here is Voidcat, the source of the technical difficulties. And we have a very, very interesting topic for you today. Well, not particularly interesting. It's more like fluff rage bait that I changed last minute when I realized the topic that I wanted to cover was a bit too complex for just a day's worth of work. I have to make some diagrams to explain it so that people don't get lost, and that'll take a bit more time. So welcome to the alternative topic, which is, just a moment, women are learning the nature of men, and it's rendering them unattractive. I think, honestly, this is another know you, because we have a lot of, I guess, social philosophers who have looked into the nature of women and have discussed how that, guess, in the current era makes them a little bit less than appealing. So we have Homath, although I think Homath still presents the idea that pursuing a romantic relationship with a woman is a good thing, and that we should continue to pair bond. So he has a more of a hopeful approach, I believe. But he has been very clear about the negatives of female nature. And then we have all of the MGTOW creators who have gone into length over the pitfalls of, I guess, the feminine approach, feminine cognition, feminine half of human cognition. And we've also talked about the issues around holding women accountable for the things that they do in society, and that we have a great deal of problem doing that. And also, like I personally have pointed out, that we probably wouldn't have a justice system if women were the ones who had been in charge, well, in public positions of power and responsibility. Because now that women have some more say, I suppose, on the political, like the external political world, they've always had a say. But they seem to, like the main advocacy group for women appears to be hell-bent on removing any controls over women's behavior, be they social, legal, financial, their own choices. Go figure that one. So there are some things that have come to light as a result of social media. And of course, they're all misogyny. And again, something that I'd noticed, having been sort of a fellow traveler of all of this general cacophony for the last 20 years, is that men's issues advocates or the manosphere would generate a topic like a discussion of female nature and how attractive it makes women, or how indulgence of female nature makes women less attractive. And then we see the feminist regurgitating, except with the genders reversed, the same observations. And I saw that with actually men's issues. So we would bring up a men's issue, and then immediately, or not immediately, but a little bit downstream, feminists would bring up the same issue, except with a women worsting twist. So we would point out something that faced that, biting doesn't help. No, what are you trying to achieve with that? If I let you go, you'll just come back. All right, there you go. What do you want to do? Make your decision. Anyway, so they would take something that men's issues had developed as a concept or an issue, and then they would appropriate it for themselves. So I'm just saying, this is probably just another know you. They saw something that men were talking about. They turned it around and pointed it at men. This is something that, I guess it's a form of reporting DARVO. That's deny, attack, reverse order of victim and offender, or victim and aggressor. All right, so once again, women are learning the nature of men, and it's rendering them unattractive. The emotional unavailability to the poop in their pants to everything in between. And it's interesting that they use this image of this man, right? This isn't written by a man. Yeah, this is written by this individual right here. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but her name is LN. Probably click it and find out more about her. I don't feel like doing so. I just found it really slightly deceitful because it makes you think it's written by this dude, but actually it's written by this lady. And she even sort of hides the fact that she's a woman behind these single letters she reduces her name to. All right. Men's greatest fears are upon us. The day women no longer desire to be pursued by men. That's men's greatest fears. Not losing their children, but this. They all seem to be the same, except they come in different sizes. And your preferred size is large, of course. Overall, every man seems to be alike, and we are disgusted and repelled. Some of us are giving up on even interacting with men, including online. This is a really interesting article, considering that the number of men who are interested in getting into a relationship with a woman has declined by 10% in 2 years. Right? Well, okay, you guys are giving up. And there are some interesting stuff with the statistics on singlehood. Now, women tend to, I guess, be somewhat more comfortable with singlehood because they have more social supports, or at least they're allowed to have more social supports. It's not like we haven't declared war on all forms of male-only groups and spaces for the last 70 years. But regardless, they have more social supports, so singlehood doesn't feel, I guess, as bad for them. However, men are more likely to embrace it as an identity. So there may be a certain level of cope with women saying that they're okay with being single. And as we discussed in a previous episode, the statistics suggest that single women are not happy. They are very much not happy. But of course, it's women choosing this. And to a degree, I'm guessing it is. I mean, there's still a 30% differential between the number of men who want a relationship and the number of women who want a relationship. Although the rate at which the number for men is declining would suggest that that's going to be parity pretty soon, and then there will likely be more women looking for a relationship. And then there's some other complicating factors, like how do women define relationships? Because there are women who think they're in relationships, but statistically this seems to be highly improbable because there's not an equal number of men who think that they're in relationships. So there's a disconnect there. So for example, 60% of women will say, yeah, I'm in a relationship. And 45% of men will say, yeah, I'm in a relationship. So there's sort of like and these are just numbers I throw out to give you an illustration, but there's sort of a gap there and nobody knows where that comes from. Okay, continuing on with the article. A big shift is occurring, and it's getting bigger every day. The men thought the loneliness epidemic was upon them, but now what's heading their way? Dun, dun, dun. Whew. And this is a quote in the article. I don't know who she's quoting, but apparently she's quoting someone. Anyone's guess who? So, quote, men can hang out with other men while they're being assholes, but women do not want to hang out with men who are assholes. I guess that depends on how you define asshole, because women do find psychopaths uniquely attractive. And I'm not even talking about physically or even in terms of confidence, because that was actually controlled for. I know a while back the cope was, well, actually women are attracted to confidence. No, it's actually the psychopathic personality style that they're attracted to, which is an emergent property of the psychopath. Okay, this isn't psychopaths pretending to be something they aren't. They are themselves. This personality style is a part of themselves. For whatever reason, it just makes them more attractive to women than men who are normal. In fact, they're starting to look at it as maybe an evolutionary adaptation, that it increases men's reproductive sex or reproductive success. Therefore, they continue to have this psychopathic personality style. Doesn't mean that in the end of the day, they're going to make a good partner. And generally they don't. But they are attractive. Let's look at these items. that have surfaced and are all deal breakers. Dun, dun, dun. Lack of emotional depth. Oh, good Lord. Okay. Lack of emotional depth. Men have a lack of emotional depth. Men who avoid introspection, suppress their emotions, and dismiss their partner's feelings or often create relationships devoid of meaningful emotional connection. Women who crave emotional intimacy find this inability to engage exhausting and unfulfilling. And of course, we're supposed to just ignore all of the men who say that when they did express an emotion of any kind of sentiment or sadness or need of some kind, like a rat out of the aqueduct, she was gone from their lives. Now, one particular story, which was the most egregious I've heard in the entire time that I've sort of been on this side of the looking glass, was a man who ended up in prison. And I think he was in like maybe a transitional, but anyway, he ended up being gang raped. Right. So, a man can generally fight off one man, maybe another couple men, but he had to fight off an entire floor and he was unable to do that. So he ended up being gang raped. And when he got out of prison, his then girlfriend, described how her uncle had sexually abused her. And she was like, oh, you couldn't understand the pain that I'm in, the sheer awfulness of being a woman who is sexually abused. And he said, well, but, this happened to me in jail. Guess who was dumped immediately? Actually, she didn't just dump him immediately. She called him a punk ass bitch and then dumped him. Of course, the uncle of the girl mysteriously got his legs broken a couple, weeks later. But, that's how it ended for him. And as a result of that, he learned and he became the most hardened con in the prison yard. Someone you would not want to fuck with. So there you go. That's the worst story I've ever heard. But there's plenty more where that came from. It's a trap. And the other thing is that I've noticed that, and I think it might have been Emily King. I watched something that she did where she sort of described how men emote. And I've noticed that women, when I look at men, I can see in some cases the emotions that they are expressing, even though it's not hugely obvious. Like they don't do things like women. Like women don't just express an emotion. They have to amplify it. They've got to give it some vroom, they got to just project it, make it the world. Whereas men are much more staid when they express an emotion, but nevertheless it's there. Like it's very much there. When I read Hemingway, I read an incredible depth of emotion into what he was writing, even though it's very sparse writing. It's very sparse, but invites you to really understand the emotions that the men in his stories are feeling. And I've read reviews of his work that completely miss this, like 100% miss this. And I wonder, just looking back at his life, if there was a point where he did these incredibly moving stories with unbelievable emotional depth, this riveting emotional depth, and he put them out there. He just bled onto the page for everyone to see. And he got his first reviews back about how macho and, shallow and lacking in any kind of emotional depth and not very complicated and whatever else that they say about his work. And then he was just like, well, geez, I might as well just lean into their stereotypes about me and men. And then, Hemingway TM was bored. But anyway, my overall point is that men do have emotional depth. That's why they are the best writers. Let's face it, the best poets. I've read some recent modern poetry by women. Like modern poetry by women is probably the best argument to remove women's literacy. I'm just saying. But anyway, they're the best poets, they're the best songwriters, the best, in many cases, strong performers. And, song, like the music industry is one of the industries where I think women, really, really excel and can often be as good as male performers. But male lyricists, especially now, of course, everybody's sort of gotten it started to get really shallow and nursery rhyme-ish, but male lyricists, and that's actually proven. They've discovered that the lyrics in modern songs are actually simpler than they were in the past. But, male lyricists really can capture a lot of pain. And then you have the artists. So how can you sit there and say that men lack emotional depth? They've invented entire genres and mediums in order to express their emotions. Like, good Lord. Women want a genuine connection, and this may be an impossibility with men. What's the lesbian divorce rate? 75%? Lesbians are the most violent. Okay, well, you can have your genuine emotional connections with each other. Complete absence of that emotional neutrality that men bring, and then suddenly the fists start flying and the guns start going off. All right. Entitlement mentality. Entitlement, particularly in relationships, is unattractive because it dismisses the concept of mutual effort, respect, and care. The last thing men want to do is respect women. For what? What are these people who are like, just, respect women? What? For what? For existing? So you're basically just reducing a woman down to her physical existence and respecting that? Like, no, I don't want to be respected in that way. I want to be respected for my actions and choices, my ethics, whatever virtues I bring to the world. Not just because I have a hoo-ha. Oh, I hate that term, respect women. For what? What are you respecting if you're just blanket respecting women? All right, I'm going to stop there and see how you guys are doing in the various chats. Let's see. Okay, I am looking at the vertical stream. Okay, hello everybody in the vertical stream. Let me see the pop-out chat. I can't find it. Where are you? Okay, here we go. I'm going to pop you out and see what you guys are saying. Need pop-out chat music. Okay. Respect my female empowerment. Exactly. Respect skunks. Well, I do, actually. I live in skunk territory. You must respect the skunk. All right, let's see what are you doing in the horizontal chat? Let's get you out here. Just a second. All right. I don't think, let's see, refreshing the horizontal chat. Okay. Oh, I'm not sure if the horizontal chat, I don't think the horizontal stream picked up, Brian. At least I don't see it. Is it a different one, or are you there? Brian's doing something else. Let's continue.
No, I'm here. Yeah, there's a new link. I just dropped it in your chat.
All right, thank you.
In Discord, you can look at it.
Is it, did something happen?
Yeah, it like YouTube created a new instance. Sometimes that happens, like a YouTube thing.
Oh, that's just weird. Okay, let me just fix that right now. Thank you, Brian. Getting this fixed. Getting the horizontal chat in. And there we see, okay, I'm going to pop you out. Oh, I got some, all right, so Albatross gives me $5, or give it off $5. And just checking to see, I see I still have the ability to super chat. Congratulations, Albatross. That's fantastic to learn. All right, so, all right, I think that's it. Do we have any super chows? I'm going to take a look for that. Oh, I guess I should do the things. Sorry, I should have done this at the beginning. If you would like to send me a message, the very best way to send me a message is feedthebadger.com/justthetip. That's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. We get the full benefit of the funds, whatever funds you send, and you get the full benefit of sending a comment with a little bit more space to elaborate on your thoughts. You can add a little complexity, a little bit more nuance, some subtext, that kind of emotional depth that men apparently can't express. And we get the full benefit of the fun. So feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Get more space. You don't have to put it through YouTube's comment thresher system. And we get the full benefit of the funds again. I think I've said that 3 times. Maybe that'll manifest now. All right, let's get back to it. Dismissive attitudes towards women's rights. You mean they have some intelligence? A growing number of women have observed men's apathy or outright hostility towards issues like reproductive rights, equal pay, and gender equity. Just look at our comment section to see the men coming out of their man caves. When are you guys going to be concerned about men's reproductive rights? Because the legal precedent that's been set for men is that they have none. And what that means is they cannot separate the act of conception from their parental responsibilities. So to use an example, a man gets raped by a woman, right? She climbs on top of him while he's otherwise incapacitated, or maybe she has a gun or a knife, which is happening more often because of apparently millennial women are quite grapey, you know, and she has her way with him. She gets pregnant, and I've actually read a story about that. It was really horrifying. The man had to play nice with his rapist and her parents, for something like 10 years to get access to his child. Well, he had access to his child to get custody of his child, because like all rapists, the woman eventually really screwed up. But he had to plaster on a happy face in order to stay in her life, to get access to his daughter, who is a product of her raping him. I don't think that's ever going to become a Lifetime movie, although it would be a lot better than most of the stories that they use. But I just can't imagine. Can you imagine that? Having to suck up to your rapist for 10 years just to keep access to your child, and then hope that the monster fucks up enough that the state decides to give you custody. That's what men live with. And have women ever, more than just me, expressed a concern over that? A single solitary bit of emotional compassion over that? Not that I've seen. Right? Equal pay, the old hobby horse that's been debunked multiple freaking times. Multiple times. You know what? You were right, Brian. This is way too hot. Sorry about that, guys. Multiple times this has been debunked. Right? It is not discrimination. It is women's collective choices that are causing this to be an issue. And no matter how much evidence is shown, they insist that this is the case. It's too juicy. It's too juicy a bit of victimhood to give up. All right, and gender equity. Are women in general, or feminists, or the women who write articles like this, are they concerned about things like bodily autonomy issues like circumcision, the aforementioned rape of men, leading to their obligation to support the children conceived by rape? Are they concerned about any of this? Conscription, are they concerned about that? Are they concerned about any of the issues facing boys in schools? The answer is no. And yet they insist that men be concerned about their issues without any kind of reciprocation. They don't even give you a thank you anymore. This is the bare minimum. This is the bare minimum. No, the bare minimum is what women are doing in relation to men's issues. That's the bare minimum, which is absolutely fucking nothing. All right, lack of support for issues that directly affect women's lives signals a disregard for their autonomy and humanity. Are those issues a result of those women's own choices? Like, I am pro-life, but there are a lot of steps that you have to go through, that you have to fuck up before you get to pregnancy. Birth control, condom use, I don't know, IUD, something. Like there's a lot of stuff in between there. And also, I think the real issue, especially on the libertarian end, is why do people have to pay for your entertainment? You're using sex as entertainment. Why do people have to underwrite that? Weaponized incompetence. Women are increasingly tired of men who intentionally underperform in household chores or childcare, forcing their partners to pick up the slack. This tactic, often framed as harmless or unintentional, communicates a lack of respect and partnership. Have the men become dead weight? The next time your car breaks down, what you should do is you should go to your female partner and say, fix it. No, don't take it to a mechanic. You fix it. And if she's unable to do that to your satisfaction, it's weaponized incompetence. And what they mean by weaponized incompetence is that men don't do chores the way women want them to. Right? And just to blast this whole narrative right out of the water, right before it's even born, before it takes its first breath, before it blows its first snot bubble, okay? Blast it right out of the water. Men do 4 hours more work a week than women. And it's probably more than that because men and women report work differently. The example I use is, of course, laundry. A woman reports the time it takes to put the dirty laundry into the laundry machine, the washer, set the cycle up, leave, watch soap operas, come back, put the laundry into the dryer, leave, watch some more soaps or read a romance novel, come back, take it out, fold it. All of that, like 3 hours, she says, that's all work. A man reports the time it takes to put the laundry into the washer, the time it takes to start the washer. Then he goes and does something else, probably some roofing or cleaning the eaves troughs or mowing the lawn. And then he comes back, puts the clean clothes into the dryer, leaves. He only reports the amount of time he has interacted with the machine, the laundry, the dryer or washer, or the time it takes to fold the clothes, because of the way that men and women process tasks and how they report on them. So it's entirely possible that 4 hours is significantly longer. But anyway, 100% we know that men do 4 hours more a week, more in terms of chores, paid work. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Commute, right? And childcare. Men do 4 hours more a week. But what they don't do is complain. They don't complain. I've never heard men say, well, where's our extra 4 hours, ladies? You know what's really happened? I've looked at the Pew research. Don't quote me on this, but I do know in general, the amount of time a married couple or just a couple in a single household does on all of those tasks, so childcare, household chores, work, the amount of time has increased something like 10 to 20 hours. Don't quote me on that exact number, but it's increased significantly. And it's increased for women too. So in order to underwrite this experiment of having women, it's not really experiment because we used to do this, but having women in this particular economy, in order to do that, everybody works harder. And of course, women complain that they're working harder. Well, yes, because this is what you wanted. Have the men become dead weight. You guys got to complain more. You got to express your emotional depth. Like, where did my 4 hours go, ladies? That's expressing some emotional depth. I feel cheated. Chronic defensiveness or stonewalling. When women bring up concerns or frustration, many men default into defensiveness or turn the discussion into an argument about their own feelings. Men turn the discussion into an argument about their own hurt feelings. Let's get lack of emotional depth. Men avoid introspection, suppress their emotions, okay, right, and dismiss their partner's feelings. So a woman is getting into an argument, and maybe her partner is feeling hurt. Are you just going to dismiss his feelings? Isn't that what men do? And then expressing his feelings is exactly the thing. He's expressing his hurt feelings. I thought you just said that's not expressing their feelings. Is what feelings are men supposed to express? Lukewarm gratitude for having a woman tell them what to do in their life? You know, the reason why I talk against this stuff is because it is so anger-inducing and unfair. And obviously men have evolved to deal with this when it comes to women. Because when I look at it, I'm like, no, they need to be replaced. Boy, I'm doing a lot of misogynies today. But it's infuriating. None of this stuff is supported statistically. A lot of it is based in women's own choices about the type of men that they want. So can he express his hurt feelings when you accuse him of being a small-dicked incel? Right? Can he express that? Is that not an emotional depth? Or is he, like I said, what emotions are men supposed to be expressing? Also, chronic defensiveness and stonewalling. So if a man, how is a man supposed to conduct himself in an argument with a woman? I guess he's just supposed to agree. But if he agrees, is he forcing her to do the emotional labor of telling her what the problem is? What if he fights back? Well, then he's abusive. What if he's chronically defensive or stonewalling? Then he's apparently too emotional. You know, this could be better termed. Men, if you are at any moment in your life comfortable in your own skin, if you're just chilling, you're just vibing with being a man, then you've hurt women somehow. Ugh. Okay, this behavior shuts down communication and leaves women feeling unheard and invalidated. Stonewalling, defensiveness or stonewalling. When they looked at the actual physiological response of men and women during arguments, they found that men are significantly more stressed. Now, if this was something that they found about women, that women were significantly more stressed during couples arguments, I'm pretty sure they would have had some kind of PSA about how men need to tread carefully and be kinder and be more cognizant of her emotions. But because it's men, we just call them, I don't know, defensive and say, shut up. You still have to consider women's emotions. Lack of accountability. Men who fail to own up to their own mistakes, shift blame, or make excuses come across as immature and incapable of growth. Again, I think this is a no you. They've looked at the common complaints about women, and they're just reversing them. Women increasingly see this as a deal breaker because accountability is foundational for a healthy partnership. You know that meme? The kryptonite and the woman crawling away from it, the superwoman crawling away from it, kryptonite's accountability. Apparently, it's men that have an accountability issue. And honestly, you can understand this because people like this see women as the standard. So men are illegitimate. So whenever they don't live up to the standard, it's an accountability issue. Even though, I mean, it's more of a standpoint issue. Because if I make myself the standpoint, then everybody else is not accountable for being me. You know, do better. Like, geez. We are tired of it, and we have no energy to teach men how to be grown adults and have healthy relationships. So men are supposed to have healthy relationships before they have relationships. The destructive nature of man has now reached new heights. It is the women who bring things back together and restore. Is it the women who bring things back together and restore? Question mark. Read about the glass cliff phenomenon. Oh, I think this is just guessing. I don't actually know. I'm guessing the glass cliff is the fact that when a CEO when they put in a female CEO in a company, it usually goes off a cliff. Many, and it's because of bias against women, right? It's not because female board members and CEOs are from a really incestuously small pool called the golden skirts phenomenon. And many men, or alternatively, that women have so upselled their skills in diplomacy and crisis resolution that they're like, oh, just slap a woman on it, it'll fix it. And it's crash, boom. Okay. This resistance is not only stunts personal growth, but also makes them unappealing as long-term partners. Yeah, that's what it is, guys. It's not the 666s. It's because you don't have emotional depth, but also if she does upset you, you shouldn't express it. And if you don't express it, you're also stonewalling. You don't have emotional depth. That's why women have to do the emotional labor of telling you what to do, which they also resent you for. This is a nightmare. Fragile masculinity, where men feel threatened by women's success, independence, or assertiveness, often leads to controlling or insecure behavior. This inability to celebrate their partner's achievements or support their growth highlights an unattractive insecurity. Press X for doubt. Is it a feeling of threat? Like, are men really threatened by women's successes, or are they concerned that when a woman succeeds, she still wants a man who's better than her? Right. Hypergamy, which I've learned is both doesn't exist, apparently, according to feminists, but also is perfectly justified. Lack of empathy. The inability or unwillingness to empathize with women's struggles and experiences was one of the most unattractive traits. What was that about conflicts? In conflicts, men express their hurt feelings. Are you not concerned by those hurt feelings? You empathetic people? Empathy builds trust and emotional safety, and an absence signals a lack of emotional intelligence. How freaking long does this damn article does not have empathy. It doesn't have empathy for my damn time. Obsession with power and control. The obsession with control often creates an imbalance that feels stifling and oppressive. And yet, statistically, women engage in more controlling behavior. As women continue to recognize these traits, a significant cultural shift is occurring. Women are no longer willing to settle for relationships that drain them emotionally, mentally, or physically. Okay, can you guys set your AI's language model to concise? They're choosing independence, personal growth, and communities of support over partnerships that feel like a burden. Men do 4 more hours a week, right? For whatever reason, they're more anxious during conflicts, probably because they know the shit is hitting them. Like they know that they're going to have their marching orders are coming down, or what they did wrong is coming down, because of course it's the woman who sets the tone for the relationship, the expectations for the relationship. Unlike women who have historically been pressured to work on their physical appearance to remain appealing, men are now realizing their personalities, behaviors, and values are under scrutiny, and many are falling short. Yeah, I mean, geez, we got to pump up those psychopath numbers. Women are not finding men attractive. The psychopaths are what? Sociopaths are what? 3 to 5% of the population? Probably less. It's probably more like 1%. Don't quote me on that. We need to pump those numbers up. What this means moving forward, the shift just isn't a momentary trend. It is a wake-up call. Men who want to remain relevant in relationships must look inward, but not to how they're hurt by their female partners. They have to have emotional depth, but none of it can be outside the purview of women. So they have to have women's emotional depth. In fact, what you should do, men, is you take your limbic system and your amygdala and your hypothalamus, you just remove it from your head, boop, and replace it with your wife's. That's good. Then you're good. Unlearning men who want to remain okay. This shift is not a momentary trend. It's a wake-up call. Men who want to remain relevant in relationships must look inward, unlearning harmful societal programming and embracing growth, accountability, and emotional learning, emotional intelligence. Attractiveness is no longer just about appearance. It's about character, behavior, and how one shows up in a partnership. But you know what? We wouldn't mind if you lost 100 pounds, fixed your hairline, fly to Turkey and get a real deal, washed your ass, went to therapy, became self-aware, and started down the path to understanding how the patriarchy has been detrimental to both sexes. But if you're hurt about it, keep that to yourself. Become a real human being on the outside and get out of that emotional prison you're in. Haha, but we all know men don't change, and this is asking way too much. So instead, we'll get another degree and we women will be fine. Yeah, men don't change. That's right. It's not like providing was an essential component. Men's provision of women, providing stuff to female hominids way back then wasn't an essential component to the evolution of human cognition and society. Like, men providing stuff for women was a big portion of the creation of the human family, and then the creation of human society and tribes and everything, human history. But you know, men don't change, men don't provide. That's not what you're actually asking. That's not what you're actually leaning on with this whole screed. You're not actually manipulating men by saying they're not doing these things. No. You know, if they were actually right, if this woman was right and patriarchy conjecture was correct, men would read this. You know, the feminist Andronicus, which is the feminine with the man that is essentially described through feminist conjecture. So it's not the feminist Andronicus. It's like the Homo economicus in the economic theories. It's not actually describing a man in reality, but it's what feminist conjecture describes men as. The feminist Andronicus would read this, and he wouldn't give a crap. In fact, she wouldn't even be writing this. In a feminist Andronicus world, she would be writing to women and saying, hey, you need to give more. Everything that you're giving is you need even more. It would be a world in which women were doing 4 or even more hours extra a week, but men were complaining. The feminist Andronicus was complaining about being taken advantage of. Where there was a wage gap as a result of the feminist Andronicus's choices in the workplace, but he blames women, even though they're taking all the shit jobs. Right? This would be a completely different experience for her. If men's desire to protect and provide for women didn't exist, she wouldn't have nothing to appeal to in this retarded argument, in this retarded article. Actually, it was I forget his name, but he's getting more popular. He deals with the behavior of women and how it's very negative, and at least it's encouraged to be negative. Although he says that, you know, you look at this in order to try to find a woman who's good. I think the first word is Alex. Sorry, guys, I'm terrible with names. But he described how when a man makes money, he thinks, oh, now I'll be able to provide for a woman and a family. And when a woman makes money, she thinks, oh, now I don't need a man. Isn't that interesting? And I wonder, again, if this LN is appealing to that very quality in men. For women, this awakening is empowering, but it's not going to come without personal growth challenges. Oh, good Lord, it keeps going. Oh, it's only 2 paragraphs. By recognizing what we truly value in a partner, we're breaking free from societal pressures and reclaiming our worth. Well, judging from the statistics, what you really value in a partner is a large dick, 6 foot plus, sociopathic personality style, and lots of money. Well, okay. The men will buckle down hard on this one because everything is at stake. Their livelihood, their identity, everything they've learned, and the why behind the why they do the things that they do. Well, yeah. Yeah, men are probably going to try to rise to your nebulous fart of a standard because that's what they do. They do it until everything collapses around us. Okay, I think that I don't know what else to say. This is just the typical fluff of a screed. I'm gonna go to see what you guys have got for me. All right. It's all fun and games. Ames' son says it's all fun and games until you have to reach for something on the top shelf. You're calling me out there. I'm quite short, by the way. That's why I said that. I'm a very short person. Okay, I got a lot of tabs here. Let me just organize this for a second. Okay, Chrome, I need to, yes, there we go. Let's move this pop out over here. Let's move this pop out over here. I don't know which one's the special chat anymore. Witchmaster says, women want to work, men have to work. Yeah, unfortunately. No, it wasn't Alexander. Nebula says Alexander Grace. Absolutely not. No. So just slap that name out of your face. It was not Alexander Grace. I do not want this guy to be conflated with that individual. I am. Actually, Alexander Grace, you're right. You're right. Damn. Man, that's a real. God, good Lord. You're right. No, you were right. I was thinking Alexander Syke. But you're absolutely right. It was Alexander Grace. Okay, Alexander Grace is the good Alexander. Alex Syke is whatever. Relationships are a waste of time for men. There's no benefit in it for us. Yeah, it's sort of feeling. Well, I mean, I can't say that because I'm not a man, right? But if I were looking at this, I would say this is not worth it. My head, my thoughts, my negative thoughts are bad enough. That little monster in my head that says that I'm doing everything wrong, and I don't know why I'd want a 5'3" version of that in my life. 5'4", whatever the average height of a woman is. Why would I want my internal negative thoughts to be manifest in another human being? Like I go home, and my husband is like, wow, you're awesome. And that's cool because I find men are like that in a lot of ways. And that really helps with the critical thinking. But I can only imagine going home to, I can't believe you didn't take the garbage out. I mean, can't you remember this at 6 a.m? You just don't care about me, do you? You don't care about me. I want a divorce. Who wants that? Who wants to be constantly told that they're emotionally immature for the things that they like, that they're not doing enough around the house, even though they statistically do more, right? That they don't take, that the way that they take care of their kids is wrong because it isn't like the way a mother does. Who wants that? All right, let me see. I'm gonna get rid of some of these tabs. There's too many freaking tabs. I'm gonna put this back up to the picture. Again, this article made it seem like it was this dude, but it was not that dude. It lied. All right. Gin Bottle says, "Gad, no. Average woman is about 5'7" these days." Oh, good Lord. That means I'm really short. Chaos for you, 728. Partnership equals transactional relationship. Actually, Karen, that's girl I was what, pointed something out to me that I realized was true. All relationships are transactional. This is a parasitic relationship. This is a relationship with a parasite. And another note on that whole injection of the patriarchy thing, that whole construct of patriarchy is a way of establishing moral dominance as a woman and essentially saying that you as a man are illegitimate. Because what does patriarchy conjecture say? Men oppress women. So foundationally, men's primary action throughout human history towards women is to oppress them. Not to protect and provide for them, but to oppress them. Men are literally defined as oppression. Masculinity equals oppression. Man equals oppression, right? Where do you go with that? How do you have a relationship with someone who believes that about you? And I can tell you why this is the case. It's because it establishes men as morally inferior to women. That's what they're doing when they say this stuff. They're establishing their control over your self-worth. And they're going to use that to manipulate you to give them stuff. That's a parasitic relationship. A transactional relationship is a woman who supports her partner, her husband or her boyfriend, and what he wants to do. I mean, maybe that support is idiosyncratic to her. Maybe she does, like, I don't know, dances in the rain with semaphore flags. Who knows? Like, but it's there. That's a transactional relationship. What we're looking at here is parasitic. A relationship that's entirely defined by the benefit of one of its parties, not both. And they say that they're not doing that because they assume so much about how men are benefited by relationships. Okay. I need more monitors, Allison. Oh, you're right. I do. I need like a whole bank of monitors. I actually, Jonathan has a couple monitors in his station, and wow, that's really useful. Maybe, oh, I should mention this as well. We are doing a fundraiser to support Brian getting a new rig so he can continue to help us out with this content. It's also at feedthebadger.com/support. So if you want to help that, and maybe we should, maybe if we get extra, we can give Brian a bank of monitors. All right. Oof. Okay. I'm going to look, I saw the word glass cliff. So I'm going to find it again. Okay, what the heck's going on here? I saw the word glass cliff in your chat here. Allison should be the guy in the chair. Damn it, where did it go? Somebody explain what a glass cliff is. I don't see it. Somebody did. I saw it. Now I can't see it anymore. All right, well, unfortunately, I guess we'll never know. It'll have to be the mystery of the stream. Okay, so let me check the super chats. Did we get any super chats, Brian? Are you there?
Yeah, there was one. I thought you looked at it. It was from Albatross.
I did read it, I think.
There were two. There was another one from Albatross.
Did
you see it?
Yeah, I did read it. I read that.
Other than that, there's nothing else then, if you read it.
Okay, I don't see any super chows. So, guys have been light on the super chows this month. I guess you guys don't want to talk to us. Or you think we're hitting it out of the park and you just want to listen. Anyway, if you have anything that you'd like to say after we conclude here, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. That's once again feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And if you want to help us get Brian an update on his rig because it's 6 years old, you do so at feedthebadger.com/support. Oh, Liz F says, does this grift pay well? I'm just wondering because it might be interested in starting one myself. Well, first of all, it's not a grift. I don't know how this got defined to being a grift because essentially we create content on this topic almost daily, and we do it because people provide us the means to do so, right? So is, for example, a 7-Eleven, your corner 7-Eleven, is that a grift? A mom and pop organization that's providing an actual service or products, is that a grift? And hell, we don't even, we're like a 7-Eleven, or a 7-Eleven are there 7-Elevens in the US? Or are they just in Canada? I don't know what's like a common like convenience store in the US? I don't even remember. But anyway, they're like a convenience store, right? We're even like a convenience store where you can walk in, take anything you want, and we're just like, hey, could you throw us a few shekels on your way out. It would be appreciated so we can continue to offer you the service, the convenience. So, I mean, sure. But Liz F., if you are a greedy monkey, I would suggest you go into feminism because, whew, man, are those ladies making bank. Like I went through the financials of a few feminist organizations, and just to pull one out of the Rolodex, I usually use this one because I examined it even more carefully. The National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. I think it was the National Association Against Domestic Violence. All right, $1 million income a year. Okay, board members take home 40,000, from what I could tell. 40,000. They do an hour's work a month. They take home 40,000. The woman who is in charge of the whole thing makes about 150K. That's US a year. And what she does is she puts on a webinar, 1.5 hour webinar a month. She doesn't do it. She actually gets, like, think a volunteer, and you have to pay for it. She has a pamphlet she sends out. She does referrals to plastic surgeons for women who are been injured for domestic violence in a disfiguring way. And she maintains an email list for the Democratic Party. 150K a year. You can't do better than that, except unless you're one of her board members. And I also investigated those board members, and they appear on the boards of other feminist organizations, picking up another, 30, 40K for an hour's work a week a month. So once you're on, like, the board of about 10 of these feminist NGOs, you're picking up, 400, almost $500,000 a year for, 10 hours of work a month. Sounds like a good deal if you're just interested in money. But on this side of the looking glass, you have to work. You have to work almost daily. Look at Justin Trottier. I've never seen somebody so committed to something in my life as that man in bringing services to men in Canada. But yeah, 10 years, 12 years of doing this, bringing content on these issues, getting kicked out of countries and conventions and all that other crap. And yeah, this is a labor of love. It's a labor that's made possible by people who support, but it is a labor of love, or actually just a labor of profound irritation at the lies. Okay. Actually, I wanted to point this out since Liz brought it up. Maybe I'll switch it over to this, which was something I was looking at. Let me find it for you guys. Ooh. My mouse got captured on the other one. It's funny because the Macintoshes, you can move your mouse from one to the other, but it ended up on this screen when I wanted to go to this screen, and then it was a little confusing. But anyway, I'm going to find this for you because it's really interesting. It really brings to mind or illustrates a point about feminist services. Okay. All right. So I'm going to pop it up here. It just takes a little while. I need, like, music for times like these, but unfortunately don't have any. Okay. So I'm going to switch this over. Just give me a second, guys. I apologize for my technological insufficiencies, shall we say. All right. So this individual is called Turf Witch on X, right? Just saying that because, you can obviously see it. Can you guys see this, Brian? Can you see this? Can you?
Yes, I can see that. As you're talking about some Twitter stuff, yes.
Yeah, Twitter stuff. And, all right, so let's look at this. Oh, it looks like it's cut off a bit. I know, it'll be fun. I stayed in a DV shelter when I was getting out of a relationship once. And even though I'm so grateful for the help they gave me, I noticed a lot of questionable things. I had to call a lot to get help from them, and it was on a wait list for months. But when I got there, the house was empty. It was a huge house, probably like 8 bedrooms, and they had donated food delivered every day, as if the house were full. But so much just went to waste. Staff working full-time and all night, but empty house. Donated food to an empty house. They were also replacing the roof of this giant house, and I did wonder if the owner was getting benefits from this. Like they mentioned to me, the nonprofit that runs the shelter rents it from the owner. The owner probably gets some write-off for renting to shelter, but honestly, I have no way to know. They wouldn't share details. But I went there with very little. I spent the last of my money on diapers and clothes because I didn't have any when I went to them, and they didn't tell me until I'd been there for 2 months buying them. They actually had them there. I asked them, why didn't they offer it to them? And they told me because I'd spent the last of what I had on them while I was there, and told them about it too. And they said, we're not allowed to offer help. You have to ask directly. And I thought that was weird. The woman who told me that was actually going against the rules, giving me this tip. So the woman who told her that said, this is against the rules. I'm not supposed to tell you that there are actual provisions for women in this domestic violence shelter. Most of the workers did not seem to care at all, but this one did, and she told me I have to ask for help because they have resources, but they will not offer, even though if they know you need it. Have to beg. Even though a lot of it felt weird, I'm really grateful I could stay there. I want to be clear on that. It was mostly empty the entire time I was there, but a few others did go for a couple weeks, and one of those women told me in her native, okay, so this goes off on it. So I responded when she said, why did I have to wait? And I responded with, because they're waiting for you to give up. You have to wait so long for a room in an empty women's shelter because they don't want to have to serve you. And the reason why they don't want to have to serve you is the same reason why if you go into like sort of a dingy, broken down eatery, like Italian eatery in the really skeezy part of town, they don't want to serve you there because it's a laundering front. Right? And this is just some random woman who discovered this. I've seen other women bring this up, that they go to these places and they don't get services. They aren't actually served. And the reason why is because this is a grift. All right, does that answer your question, Liz? Okay. All right. So I think we've gone through a lot. Lol, Allison, now that all makes sense. Actually, I did want to answer your question, Jim Bottle. Probably I will keep up the makeup. And the reason why I did it is I was looking at myself and I was thinking, because I'm an artist, right? So I do a lot of, obviously art, like visual art. And when you do art, you make sure that there are certain parts of your composition that has more detail and contrast because you want people to focus on that. And I was like looking at myself in the streams and I'm like, wow, my face has the least amount of detail and contrast than everything in my background, which means that it's going to be fairly difficult to focus on what I'm saying. So strangely enough, I had to ask myself, well, I can continue to avoid making an effort, but why am I doing that? Because if this was a piece of artwork that I was doing, I would make the effort to make sure that the audience for that artwork knows where to focus their attention. That's like a critical element of composition. So, that's the logic behind that. Anyway. Oh, Francus Maximus, you are a good-looking lady, Allison. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. That was just like the last thing. Let's see if there's anything more. I know, I guess, Brian, we probably should call it a day, eh? Did you want to add anything?
If you've got nothing to add, no, I think you
covered
it. I think you gave it a good rogering.
Locke says Alex Syke is the dark Chad. Chad is being generous, I think, with our dear Alex Syke. All right. Okay, so as you heard from the disembodied voice of authority, let's call it a day. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for sticking around and listening to what I had to say. I really appreciate it. I want you to have a wonderful day, afternoon, second brunch, whatever you're doing, wherever you are. Make sure to really enjoy it. And, give a kiss to your loved ones, even if they're furry. Not like furry, community furry. I meant like pets. Well, I guess furry too. Whatever, whoever your loved ones are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing with them, thank you for your kind attention. And I will see you in the next one.
Men's rights activists are machines. dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.